Welcome everybody to session 8 of Shift Happens. Can you believe it's been 8 already? So today we're going to pick up where I thought we might be over a week ago. Thank you, Brenda. And we're getting back into more the nuts and bolts of real estate. We've been talking about some, more general business knowledge and how you can help, how your small business can benefit from some of the aid that has been slowly trickling down, we hope is on the way. So today we're going to shift gears and get kind of back into the real estate specific things, and we're going to look at operations. So we had kind of discussed the state of the market and what headwinds we see coming. Then we did a bunch of finance stuff and SBA stuff. Today we're going to look at the buy side of your business. I realize there's a mix of investors and brokerage on this call. And quite honestly, whether you label yourself with, if you label yourself with one of those labels, I suggest you quickly adopt both. If you don't have a blended skill set, then you're not going to get all the opportunity out of this market. So we are serving, predominantly realtors because that's where we started. But my interest is, being an influence and being an example to help you, if you're just a realtor, to help you step into the world of investment. Even if you're not spending your own money, how do you learn that side of the business to better serve the investors and provide real value to them? And for all the investors on this call, if you haven't seen me jump on my soapbox and tell you need a license, go to our Tips from the Trainer series. Like if you don't have a license coming into this, you're going to miss out on tons of distressed asset opportunities, and you're going to leave money on the table left and right. So I'm going to try to cover the needs of both parts of our audience. And I know some investors are critical of my work because I spend too much time talking to realtors. So just to be clear, if you're an investor and you're not a realtor, you don't need to be criticizing me. You need to be looking at your own strategy, and vice versa. If you're a realtor and you don't understand the investment parts of this, I encourage you to go educate yourself so you do, because you're going to need every skill you have to lead through this. So what we're going to cover today, we're going to look at this in three different tranches. So we're going to look at buyer business as the only topic for the day. And we're going to look at it in the escrow stage, the pipeline stage, and the prospecting stage, meaning like now, soon, and later, so maybe now, next month, the rest of the quarter. How do you close the business you have, keep the business that was in your pipeline there, and what do you do to put new business in the pipeline? How do you handle prospecting? And we're going to break that down, look at it from a brokerage standpoint, an investment standpoint, and then what you can do from each of those positions. Thanks, Barry. I'm glad my book recommendations don't go unused. All right, so let's look at the buyer business in escrow. What we're seeing is a lot of cash buyers are canceling. They're pulling back and they just want to wait until they can get deeper discounts and walk out of this with more equity. Personally, when I saw the writing on the walls, I quickly scrambled and I pulled together a portfolio of 860 a turnkey portfolio of 860 homes, got commitments from a single management team, brought community banks into the fold in case they wanted to use leverage, and delivered it on a silver platter. That would have been probably that would have been the biggest deal I'd ever closed. And we had gotten through 4 underwriting calls with this private equity firm's team, and they just froze. So they're actually returning capital to investors. So a lot of the smart cash is timid, and it is going to the sidelines, and they're not making moves right now. That's just a fact. I've seen hard money lenders backing away from the table in the last 2 weeks. There are still hard money lenders lending. Most of them are tightening down their LTV requirements. They're charging more fees. They're hedging their risk. A lot of conventional buyers have been stopped at the closing table because in the verification stages of the loan approval, that they have lost 20-30% out of their retirement portfolios, and now they don't have the debt to income ratio that they had when they first applied for the mortgage. Um, the secondary market still hasn't calmed down. The Federal Reserve has shown that they're willing to do whatever is necessary. And when we're printing unfathomable amounts of cash, and I won't get too into that. We've already talked about it. It's our economy is a big complex machine, and what most people like to point at, stocks and real estate, have been good news indicators lately. The problems lurking in our secondary and credit markets have been there since 2008. All the levers we pulled back then, we still haven't paid the piper for that deleveraging. We propped up the market with printed money, and that's what's creating such turmoil behind the curtain right now. And you don't have to understand that. It takes a long time to really wrap your head around that. What the only thing you need to know is the Federal Reserve is doing everything they can. They're throwing everything that they can at it. It's still a bit rocky, but the new 2.3, the new tranche of money that was announced yesterday morning, it's my understanding that it won't actually be put into policy until after April 16th. So we're kind of in a hurry up and wait phase, but there is another bailout for the credit markets and secondary mortgage markets, which should give the investors in those markets some certainty to start buying paper again. Right now, what you're seeing is a lot of loan servicing companies that have to sell their paper because they're a servicer. They make thin margins. They're not a bank. They're having trouble selling their paper, so they're having to portfolio all those loans and keep it on their balance sheet, which is lowering their liquidity by the day. So this is causing problems. You'll see a lot of lenders out there. They're like, these people are full of crap. Not at my bank, not at my office, and that's great. Those are the lenders you need to go to because they can write and they don't have tighter lending guidelines. But the reality is, a lot of them do, mainly your servicers. And then we have a lot of fear of the unknown, fear of the unknown in the emotional media coverage. I said a month ago when I first kind of started really paying attention to this and started doing these, every day it's going to get a little bit worse until it doesn't. And who knows when that might be. I think mid-May. And now they're putting faces and stories together, and that's what we're starting to see. And your buyers are sitting at home watching that, probably more than they should be. They're probably getting absorbed in it. I've seen some super strong people in my life really crack, and it's hard to watch. So your buyers aren't immune to this. We're all human. And, to act like that's not happening, I've seen a lot of people who, quite frankly, are overly optimistic, and they're just not going to be prepared the way they should be because of that. But what we're going through is it's more than an economical problem. It's a human problem. We will overcome it. We're certainly strong enough. But it is a reality for these people who are worried about their families, worried about their careers. Are they going back to work? That's what's going through your buyers' heads. The big unknown factor here is income and job loss. That will greatly exacerbate all of these factors we've discussed so far. Right now, if you look at the chart of unemployment, 2008, 9, 10, 11 looks like a little bump compared to this massive spike. So we have literally millions upon millions of people who are on unemployment benefits right now. And of course, that's because we took our economy offline. Not all of those people will be unemployed, but a large number of them will be. And this isn't going to be a quick V recovery. It's just not. I don't see any evidence of that being true. I think we're going to have either a wide V or maybe a narrow U recovery, but it's going to take some time to climb out of this. So again, like I prefaced, I think the very first session we did, I'm not here to scare you or to spread doom and gloom, but I am a realist, and I feel like my duty to you is to make you aware of what I believe the truth is and how I believe you can react to it and use it to your benefit. So there are headwinds. Buyers are nervous, and deals aren't closing the way they're scheduled right and across the board. A lot of people are. That's what's really encouraging. A lot of people have a lot of faith in our economy and in our government, and that's great because a lot of deals are closing a lot more than I expected. So how to respond from the brokerage side of your business. You need to find out if there are closing delays. Start talking to your lenders, courts, title companies. The really good news is most courts have not closed, and they are doing recordings. They are allowing e-recordings. They're pivoting. The title companies are quickly innovating and picking up, e-notaries and e-closing capabilities. Lenders are doing everything they can to stabilize markets and keep lending. So there's a lot of good news out there, but you need to be on top of this. You need to be talking to anyone who has a hand in any of your transactions. You should be communicating with them, if not daily, at least several times a week, so you're well informed. And when you have to talk buyers off of the ledge, you can. So talk to them daily. Report the good news. Just give them any ounce of encouragement you can. For your buyers, I mean, it's helpful if you can remind them that we came into this with a supply demand and really in the seller's favor, but with a bunch of sellers pulling homes off the market, there's still a lot of people who need to buy homes. So the underpinnings of the real estate section of the economy were much better than the broad economy. Real estate actually did deleverage in 2008 and has done fairly well. Now, a lot of that's sitting on the Fed's balance sheet, but that's how it is. So even if prices do correct downward, if that's what your buyer, most buyers are going to be pulling out, and they may give you another excuse. But what they're really concerned about is they won't be able to afford this home, or if they close and they lose their job, they won't be able to sell it. So you've got to you got to balance your advice to earn a commit that will result in earning a commission with their their needs and goals. But even if prices drop, they're going to have one of the lowest mortgage rate in history. And real estate will act as a hedge against the inflation that we know is coming. When you print trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars, I mean, Ray Dalio's some people are praising him, some are dragging him through the mud for saying cash is trash. And the media always takes a snippet and takes things out of context and blows it out of proportion. What he's warning against is long-term, just saving money, just sitting in cash, not holding tangible assets is a major risk in this environment and probably for the rest of our careers and our lives. So encouraging buyers to move forward into real estate assets is not a bad thing to do if they have a long-term mindset. Now, if they think they're going to buy this house, a speculative buy, they're buying a condo that they plan to flip next year, be honest with them and tell them that's foolish, and this is not the environment to do that in. But you need to educate yourself on the economics of real estate and have good responses for why people should move forward. Understand why buying real estate before a major inflationary period is a wise step. Know how to convey that to your buyers so you can build their confidence. It takes courage to step up and do this and be a leader, but that's what it takes to move a lot of people forward. You have to be an advisor to this person. You're not a salesperson. And if you ever thought you were wrong. You're a real estate advisor. You're helping people who don't have and for the most part, I think most of us, the average American doesn't have an exorbitant amount of wealth, but you're putting them into these massive asset purchases. So to be a salesperson is weak. You need to be a leader and a professional and an advisor for these people. And if you can do that, you'll save a lot of deals. People will follow you into this because they'll trust your advice if it's backed up with logic. And I pretty much just knocked that paragraph out, I guess. So what I just said. So continuing on that, if your buyer no longer qualifies for the home, but they still have all the motivations, all the reasons, all the security that were making them comfortable to move into buying a home, then you need to go find them a replacement home while they still have that motivation. You can use creative financing strategies. If you go back to session 4, we talked about seven unique ways that you can keep deals together and put deals together, even in an environment where the lenders stop lending and the buyers aren't qualified and prices are falling. There's still safe ways to invest in real estate. And like I said, I believe in single family homes because of the supply demand economics coming into this. Even if you pay retail price today and the market's falling 10% over the next year, if they're arbitrary numbers, I'm using a hypothetical, But even if you knew that, there's still ways to put deals together to hedge that risk. You can share the risk with the seller. You can obviously go low on price, but there's ways you can put these together. So I'm not going to get into all that today. You can refer back to session 4 if shift happens and learn some of those tactics. If you're out looking for listing for replacement assets for your buyers, don't forget, even if you're not looking to list the house, think about the canceled and withdrawn listings. A lot of people are like, I've seen double-digit percentages of inventory reductions in some markets because people are concerned about their health. They're concerned that people are going to beat them up on price. Like, you never know when you can call, a FSBO expired, canceled, withdrawn, and make them a full price offer with owner financing, and that is a major relief to them. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call these folks. Go find inventory, even if it's, that's one of the things I've been so frustrated with over the last few years. Everybody, buyers agents bitch and complain about not having inventory, but they don't go learn to find the inventory. They just go to MLS and just look into the box. So get outside of the damn box. Go find your buyers what they're looking for if it's not in the box. And when you find the right asset, when you find the right home, write a good offer. And what I mean by a good offer is an offer that will, mitigate risk for both the buyer and the seller. Mainly, you're concerned about the buyer in this conversation, but you need to make it attractive to the seller and a balanced deal. My advice is to put 24-hour deadlines on every offer. And even if that's not common in your market, you can deliver it with a cover letter to soften the blow. Some people will perceive this as shrewd and like you're trying to pressure them. So if you write a cover letter from your buyer that says, hey, this is Sam and Joan Smith. We really love your home. We just had a deal fall out of escrow. We have a list of 10 that we would like to make offers on, or, but we would like to close on number 1, and that's you. So respectfully, we're giving you a 24-hour deadline to accept or counter our offer. And we'll reciprocate with a 24-hour deadline on the counter offer period, and until we've either found an amicable agreement or we've decided to back out to move on. But write them a cover letter and make it personal. This is, people are so emotional right now, but even in residential real estate, people get so damn emotional. So appeal to those emotions, use them to your advantage, show them that your buyer is a human and that they're struggling right now too. And you're writing this different type of offer because of the environment, because you have to manage risk for two parties like you haven't really had to in recent times. And it will be accepted, way better accepted. It will land a lot better than just a cold offer through an email. Consider a 45-day or longer buyer site inspection contingency, and make sure that you have an appraisal contingency to protect against the falling value if that is where we're headed. For you investors, how to respond on the buy side, the deals that you have in escrow. If you're signing the contract, you better make sure that you're talking to the seller, you're talking to your assignee, and that everybody's calm, capitalized, and moving forward. I've seen a lot of wholesalers struggling to figure out how to put a deal together because a hard money lender backed out on the buyer. The buyer wants to buy, the seller wants to sell, the lender ran away, and the assignee's finance contingency, or finance strategy has gone to hell. So he's scrambling to go find a hard money lender that will write and in a very short timeline, and it's sometimes not possible. Deals are falling apart, and money is lost for everybody. If you're One of the ways you can save that, by the way, if you go back to session 4, I believe I talked about this. If you're a wholesaler and you have cash, go ahead and close on the asset, sell it to the same buyer, and take the assignment fee he was paying you as a down payment. Structure the deal with a contract for deed, and you can even put accelerated payments in it. So the first month the payment might be $500, the second month $1,000, the third month $1,500, the fourth month $2,000. So you highly incentivize them to get you refinanced out of that thing and to get it closed out with either cash or other kinds of financing. You can also do shared equity clauses in those. We talk about all that stuff in session 4, so I'll try not to go down a rabbit hole. But if you are seeing this, if you're a wholesaler and you're seeing deals fall apart, if you have the money to close, there are ways to go ahead and close and sell it as a contract for deed, so you don't have to go through the typical foreclosure process in case they default. You hold the note, or you hold the title, I mean, and the note. Um, and the incentive there is to get it paid off quickly, because you build in, your acceleration clauses, increasing monthly payments. You could also use a balloon to kind of create urgency, and you can balloon it at 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, but just make sure you can get, you eventually get the equity that you had in that deal. If you're buying a house, if you are the buyer investor, and you're unsure about your purchase, pick up the phone, re-engage with them, be honest, be direct, and say, you know what, listen, I'm uncertain. I'm not sure where this is headed. I'm not sure when I can evict tenants, and I was going to use your house as a rental property, adding it to our long-term portfolio, but right now 80% of our rents came in. We expect next month to be worse. So, I can walk away, or we can talk terms. So are you willing to, if I can pay you even potentially a higher price, are you willing to sell this to me on terms? And if so, kind of the same thing I just showed you. You can use a contract for deed to kind of balance the risk and reward. If you're cash, like contract for deed, owner financing, subject to a wrap if there's already a mortgage on it. Those are all things that you can learn in session 4. And hopefully, if you need help, we do have coaches to help you put those together. An important point here: a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush, always. But right now, sellers should know that more than they ever have. They're thinking, the buyers are freaked out, but the sellers are too. They're thinking, how bad is this going to get? How much equity am I going to lose? I got to sell this thing right now. I got to lock in my price. What if prices go down? So they're nervous, which gives you some leverage to renegotiate deals if you're not comfortable, if you're nervous too. Now we'll kind of shift gears. Like let's look at this. So that's what you had in escrow. These are deals that were already happening, stuff that you did 30, 60, 90, 180 days ago to put that business in escrow. Now, what about the pipeline, the stuff you did 30 or 60 days ago that hasn't gone to contract, but you're still engaged with these people? And had this not happened, you would probably be in contract and be moving through your transaction coordination. So what to expect on this: conventional buyer and investor demand, I think, will remain high. The caveat to that is, or the exception is, if we bring the economy back online and unemployment stays in double digits, you may see everything freeze for a period, because everyone's going to be like, whoa, what's going on? And nobody wants, he who moves first, fools rush in, and would be the mentality in that case. I hope that doesn't happen, but I see it as a real possibility. But the economics of real estate, coming into this, were low interest rates, limited supply with a stable value outlook, and that usually equals market activity. So I'm hoping as we bring the economy back online, that's what we'll see. We'll see an active market. I would rather see an active market shedding distressed assets and rebalancing value than I would a frozen market where everyone's afraid to move forward, because that way, that's just going to hurt even worse. So if you guys haven't noticed, I'm quite passionate and motivated to get a lot of information out to you. A lot of that's based on my belief that it takes professionals to break a log jam in the market to keep things moving. And I feel like I can actually make a difference through you guys if everyone can be prepared to show people when they freeze. You hear me talk about probate quicksand. This is more like real estate quicksand. If you find your buyers and your sellers in real estate quicksand, you need to have the rapport and the skill set to grab them by the hand, pull them out of the quicksand, and lead from the front, take them forward to keep your market moving. It'll keep your prices stabilized. So coming out of 2008, it took months, sometimes a year, and in some markets years, for buyer confidence and lender liquidity to come back and kind of stabilize and then lift the housing market. It's quite a bit different now because of those supply demand economics coming into this. We had different fundamentals in the real estate market. There was less speculation. We didn't have, like I said in session 1 of Shift Happens, the average American was only spending 16% of their gross income coming into this. Look at Canada. Like in Toronto, the average Torontonian is spending over 50%, like 54% of their gross income just on housing, just on their condos. And it's just not sustainable. So if you're in these top 25 MSAs that have, these sexy markets that have been overbought because of a lot of speculation and Airbnb buyers and just everything rushing in, they are going to get hurt more. I think you'll see market corrections in those markets. If you're in a bread and butter market like Roanoke, we saw volumes go to hell in 2008, 9, and basically just sat still, other than the low income neighborhoods where a lot of irresponsible lending was happening, which caused a bunch of defaults. But around 2011, volumes picked back up and prices kind of picked up where they left off. We didn't see that hard of a price correction. So I still feel pretty confident in single family homes. Again, like I said, that my biggest concerns are the market stalling out and a logjam of distressed assets being created because of policy decisions. And I hope like hell that doesn't happen, because they think they're helping and they could be hurting everybody even more. So in the very short term, because of these things I'm cautioning against, I think values will decline. I don't think they're going to fall. It's not going to be like the end of the world in real estate. But supply demand is strong. I think you're going to see a short-term decline in volume, potentially in price. Again, what could change my mind on that is when we bring the economy back online. If we're still in double-digit unemployment, it could take months before anybody's comfortable buying anything. When you take your economy offline, you're taking production offline. It's just, it's like you at the household level, when you lose your income, but you still owe all the bills. If you scale that up, that's what our whole country is going through right now. We've lost our income. We've lost the supply, the income in the economy. And until I'll tell you this, a lot of people are expecting this to be like President Trump's going to walk over and flip a switch on the wall and be like, okay, we're back online. That's not how this works. This is a big, complex machine, and we're not going to come online overnight. That's why you see the federal government like basically propping up, extending state unemployment insurance, through 9.5 months, because they know it's going to take some time to get this back online. So those are the things that I see as big threats and headwinds. Understanding those will help you navigate it with your buyers. Investors who have been priced out of the market, there are guys literally lining up with fistful of cash ready to buy assets. And this is where investors can save your assets. They get a lot in an up market. When investors are making money, everybody's like, oh, those unethical bastards, they're stealing equity from everybody. And when there's blood in the streets, these guys come in, they come in with a high risk tolerance, and they're eager to get buying, and they want to, they've been prepared for this. They've been planning, they've been educating themselves, they've been storing cash. So now's not the time to be critical. Now's the time to get behind them and like, yeah, go, go, go. So the more of those buyers you can bring into the market, the better you can control what's happening here, and the more money you're gonna make this year, or be that person if you're not representing them. But I think you're gonna see investors be very quiet for a bit. The smart, like quite honestly, like the ones with the most cash, I think are going to be quiet for longer. They're gonna hold their position and not start buying immediately. The ones that are just looking for one or two more deals this year, I think that will rush back in. The people with 1031s, I know guys that had deals that they backed out on so they could buy other deals. So that there will be some early money. It won't be the main surge of cash, but you want to get in front of that early money too. And then once the early money kind of sets the market and stops it out and proves a bottom to valuations, then investor confidence will rise and the cash will rush in. And this is where shit picks up. And this is where you'll have one of your best years ever in real estate, whether you're an investor or a realtor. If you're square in the middle of this, if you're the hub in this part of the market, if you're the one that's educated, you're the one that knows how to find the assets, you're the one that knows how to negotiate, this can be like millions and millions and millions of dollars will be made over the next few years. So how do you respond to these facts and these headwinds for business in the pipeline? You got to keep them engaged. You got to be talking to people, even if you don't know what to say. If you guys think I always know what to say when I come on this camera 3 times a week, or when I sit down in the morning to try to think what can I do to help them, like I don't know sometimes, but I find it. I find something that I can do. I find the courage to get out here and try to teach whatever I can. And you need to do the same for your clients. Even when you're unsure what to say, a lack of communication is just opening the door for somebody else. So they're not your client anymore. They're not your investor anymore. So keep them engaged with something. Share encouraging news articles, share economic news, education videos are great things. There's tons and tons and tons of excellent content being produced out there. Find inventory that fits their needs and go if you're a realtor, like we're talking about brokerage. So if you have buyers who if they were allowed, they would be out looking at houses, but they can't, find the inventory that works for them, just like you would if you were setting up a showings, and call those listing agents and ask for permission to do a conference call with the seller and coach them through what it's like what your buyer's looking for and what specifics they need to see in a video. And then tell them, be like, guys, have fun with this. Like, treat your house like it's a family member. Talk about, when you bought it and why you bought it and what you've done in the community. Get them to story sell the house on a video tour, and then send that to your buyer client and let them tap into that good emotion of that house and see what it looks like, what it was like under normal circumstances. Because right now it's just a house that's probably a damn mess, and there's a pantry with 94 cases of toilet paper in it, right? It's not going to show that well. So use stories to paint the real picture. You can story stage. And if that catches on, if that goes viral, remember, you heard it here first. We've got transaction engineering. what was the other one? Anyways, transaction engineer and story seller. So go find them what they're looking for. Even if you can't go show it to them, you can use creative thinking to find ways to make them excited about it. Get them to write a compelling offer. Now, the compelling offer, 24-hour expiration, just like I talked about before. Deliver it with a cover letter to explain you're not trying to be shrewd or pull the wool over their eyes. Because it's different doesn't mean you can't trust it. It just means it's different because this environment is different. Make sure it's contingent upon a buyer site inspection. This is not your home inspection. This is before the home inspection. Your buyer has to go, okay, that's what I thought it was. Let's move forward. Make sure you have an appraisal contingency in there. I've called this a dynamic closing date. This is something I used to do on every short sale. I refuse to fill in the date field on a short sale. And if I can get a bank to accept this in a short sale, then you can damn well get a seller to accept this. What you do in the closing date field, you put an asterisk, see additional terms. You go to additional terms and you say closing shall occur within 45 days of removal of the site inspection contingency. So you're tying two contingencies together. You're tying your closing date to one of your primary contingencies. So once your buyer goes and looks at the house and they're like, oh my God, we love it, let's move forward, then that starts your closing timeline. You don't have to chase around anyone with addendums or amendments trying to chase this date. You don't have to worry about, telling the lender, like just recirculating paperwork and creating a bunch more work and stress for everybody. So that's what I call a dynamic closing date. That's working smart, not hard. So on the investor side, your pipeline business or your pipeline buyers, you need to, if you are the buyer, if you are the investor, not a wholesaler, you need to review and renew your strategy. So what are you doing coming into this? What were you doing coming into this? What will you be doing going through this? And what do you want your business to look like on the other side of this? And I'm assuming that's flush with cash and strapped with assets. Like you've got tons and tons of assets from deals you put together. Like go out to that point, go out to 2025 and back into today. And what does it take to get that like once think about this as write yourself a letter. Your 2025 self is writing your 2020 self a letter saying, hey, Chad, here I sit with 100 doors of rental property. I've got $500,000 invested in real estate syndications. The opportunities from 2020 to 2023, I still can't believe how many good deals we got into. And here's how we did it. We shifted from a long-term buy and hold model to a creative financing model. And whatever that is for you, what I'm encouraging you to do is look at what you've been doing and consider that might not work going forward, even though it served you in the past. It very well may. I don't know everybody's strategy, but you need to review your strategy and maybe renew your strategy. So you know you're not going into this just trying to do what used to work and getting your assets handed to you, because it doesn't work in this environment. That's up to you. If you're a wholesaler and you're not closing on the deals, now is the time for you to go build your buyers list. There are people out there who have tons of cash that aren't getting beat up on their rental properties, that don't have have to worry about the court backlogs to collect, to get units cleared. There are tons of people out there that have cash. They were waiting. They checked out. I checked out in 2016. I didn't believe in the debt markets, and I knew that was going to tear through every market when that bubble popped. So I've pretty much been living like a hippie for the last 3 or 4 years. I've been riding my motorcycle, traveling, camping, just enjoying life, and I'm sitting on dry powder because of that. So you need to find guys like that, guys who have said, you know what, I'm going to sit out for a bit. One day I'll come rushing back in. You need to find that cash. And it's literally measured in billions, hundreds of billions of dollars that are sitting there, because they didn't have the faith in the markets. And maybe like me, it wasn't even about the real estate market. I have faith in real estate. I didn't have faith in the broader economy, and I was worried. And I grew up extremely poor, and it's important to me that I don't go back there. So I'm more conservative. I have a very high standard for an investment return, and I have a very low risk tolerance. Even though that's why I love the creative things. I can lower my risk and make massive returns without ever risking getting completely wiped out. So build your buyers list. Get out there and raise private money for yourself. If this cash is afraid to come in, show them how you can get a 50 LTV loan. Have them hold a 50 LTV note against the property. Mr. Seller, can you look back in time and ever see a time where residential real estate corrected more than 50%? And in the times where it was close to that, even when it did go deep, did you have supply demand economics like you have today? No. So why don't you let me lead you through this inflation with an 8 to 10% return? You don't have to do anything. You can worry about your family and getting your own business back online. Let me manage the investment. And by the way, at a 50 LTV, you know what happens if I screw up, right? You double your money. So get out there and raise money. If you don't have your own cash, now's the time to go find some. Doctors, dentists, people who are consumed with what's going on right now, they don't have time to invest. They may have lost. I know some people in medical that lost up to 40% of their retirement portfolios. And with them being as nervous as they are now, maybe it makes more sense to roll it out. And just start investing in alternative assets. Buyers are going to be looking for deeply discounted assets. They're going to be looking for no money down, creative finance deals. You can close on those yourself. You can take an assignment fee. You can even not take any cash and take equity in the deal as a joint venture. And then there should be a lot of private money opportunities out there. Prospecting. Now, how do we put new business in the pipeline? So on brokerage, both brokerage and investment, what we're seeing is, you guys probably heard me say this the other day, this isn't a buyer's market. It's a professional's market. And a lot of people are going to say it's a buyer's market because, there's strong demand and a lot of sellers pulled their homes off the market, supply and demand tilted. The reality is a lot of people are going to be too timid to move. You're coming into that professionals market. You must be compelling enough to get the buyer's trust and lead them into wise investments. I don't care if they're buying a rental property or if they're buying their primary residence, their first home. They have to trust that you're the person that can help them make a sound financial decision on one of the biggest assets they'll ever buy in one of the scariest periods they've ever experienced. And you can do it, and you can do it with their best interest first, and put them help them make wise decisions versus sitting in the quicksand. So those of you who are aggressively educating yourselves, regularly communicating with your buyers, you're the ones that are going to be the tip of the spear. You'll be leading from the front, and everyone else will be trying to catch up with you and figure out how in the hell you got all these buyers and you're making all this money. Your biggest problem will become hiring and scaling. You'll have more deals than you have bandwidth, and that's a good problem to have. So how do we respond to this longer term? I'm going to run through some ideas, guys. Where are we at on time? We're doing really good on time. So I'm just going to run through some ideas. I'm not going to go too deep on all these. I don't know how, these are just some ideas that I have, but I haven't looked anywhere else to see what other advice coaches are giving. I really put my blinders on and said, what would I do? If I had to step back into production today and quit doing this and go do real estate 18 hours a day instead of this, what would I be doing with my clients right now? Video prospecting, just like here, every day, multiple times a week, we try to find relevant, engaging information for you to help make you better, to help, steel sharpen steel. So I would be doing that if I were you. If you're afraid of video, get over it. It's 2020. Find valuable content to produce for your audience, for your buyers, investors, first-time home buyers. It doesn't matter. Get your vendors. If you don't want to go on camera, go get your lender, go get your title company owner, go get your estate sale company, your registered investment advisor, your estate planning attorney. We talked about this on the mastermind call yesterday. A lot of realtors are upset that they can't make outbound calls in the state of New York. Attorneys never can. Like certain attorneys never can. They can't direct solicit. So the idea was get your attorney, invite them to a Zoom call, show them off, say, this is someone that I've kept in the background long enough. I partnered with him because I trust him. He's way smarter than me. And here's what he can do for you guys today. And have him lay out, how to do a digital estate plan, like an electronic estate plan right there on Zoom, and do a lead capture and create a steady stream of referrals for that estate planning attorney. What happens when the next time he gets a probate deal and the family needs to sell it? Who's he going to give that referral to? So you're providing value to your past clients, to your current clients, your future clients, but also your vendor. Everybody wins all the way around if you just have the courage to step up and be the face and the voice of this right now. Cover things like law and rule policy changes and rule changes, changes in settlements, challenges in settlements, changes and challenges in lending. What's the market sales volume? What are the home values doing? This is something that you could do literally weekly. You could do one of these. Like that gives you 5 ideas: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That's five live video sessions every week. And your competition is going to be watching, but don't worry about that. Like I said, lead from the front. Let your competition see what the hell they're up against and be proud of that. Everyone else is going to be watching too. The lenders, anyone can have access to that if you put it in all the right places: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. I'm going to give you some other ideas that you may not have thought of too, where to repurpose content. Phone prospecting. This isn't possible for some of you, like people in New York. But for everyone else, you should be calling your database, reconnecting with everybody in there. Get to know every damn landlord that you can, because some of them are going to be tired and they're going to want to liquidate their portfolio. Others are going to be hungry and they want to scale. They want 500 doors, 2,000 doors. I have friends who have bought over 2,000 doors of rental property in less than 2 years. Those are the kind of people you want to find for this. You can go find these giant note portfolios that are going to come through when the forbearance gets lifted and people do default. It's going to be such a log jam. They're going to be giant portfolios of assets and notes. and find out who those guys are and go sell them multi-million-dollar deals. You can do it from your desk, never show a house, no contingencies, 30-day closings, and you can make 6 and 7 digit commissions as a realtor. And as an investor, you can get in there and take equity in the deal for putting it together. Reconnect with the home flippers, see what they're like, talk to them, see what their read on the market is, see what they got caught holding, what their plan is to do with that. You know, if they got it before, if they were in demo stage and they were going to do a full retail flip, maybe they want to transition that to a rental property. You can become their property manager or get them over to a property manager, or get it on the market as a turnkey rental for them. Sell it with a tenant in place with prepaid rents, pre-screened tenants, and like make it a strong rental property that people aren't afraid of, because it's, you know, you've got a healthcare professional in there with strong income. He paid 6 months prepaid rent. That's a sellable asset. So reconnect with those guys and see if they got caught holding the bag and what their plan is. Financial advisors, you know, they're every financial advisor I know is as nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs right now. They're getting hit from all their clients from all directions, and all the, you know, from their company and market news, and they're just, you know, they're overwhelmed. But when their clients come to them desperate, all they can, you know, the safest thing they can say right now is we'll just go to money market, just go to cash. And what's really crazy, money market, I'm actually moving to another money market account today, because mine was paying like 2.4, and one of them just shot up to like 4%. So I'm moving from cash in one money market to cash in another. But even though like that's about all the advisor has to give me. And I manage most of my own investments, but I was issued a challenge by a financial advisor, so I let him manage some of my money in a money market accounts. But he doesn't have a whole lot else to suggest other than stocks, bonds, money markets, or metals. So go meet with these guys and say, man, listen, you know, what are you seeing? What are your clients nervous about? Which of your clients could I help by getting them into sound real estate investments? And let me show you what I mean by sound real estate investments. Let me show you what it looks like and how I can show you that it's safe. And we'll find a way to get you paid, whether that's through future referrals, or if your broker is comfortable, you know, if there's some way we can do this, if I can pay you a marketing fee for something. But let's find a way to get your clients to be my clients, and we both win. And so do they, more importantly. So how do you respond to this? This is as a continuance. So online prospecting, share your content. So make these videos, do these interviews. You leverage local Facebook groups, local real estate Facebook groups, real estate investors associations. Get on LinkedIn, get a YouTube channel. If you don't have a YouTube channel, again, it is 2020. And like video, if you haven't believed in video and you don't now, I don't know what to say. Like, you have got to step up. Like, if you want to compete in this economy, in this marketplace, especially right now when we're all social distancing, you need to have a YouTube channel and you need to take it seriously. What I'm calling media prospecting. So all this stuff I'm encouraging you to do, this content that you're creating, interviewing people in the community, people on your team, providing real value. It's a damn shame to let that waste if you only have 2 YouTube subscribers, and it can be extremely deflating when you work your ass off and you put those first few videos out and you're like, yes, I'm going to be a celebrity. Like, I'll be on CNBC by next week. And then you get 2 views, and one was your mom and the other was you. And you've actually watched it 10 times, but it only counts as 1 view, which is even more discouraging, right? But what you can do to, like, be social, share that stuff out, ask people to watch it, ask people to share it, ask people to subscribe. Be sure to call that out in your videos. Say, hey, right below this video, you'll find some links to what I'm talking about. But before you do that, go right over here and subscribe, because it really helps me reach more people and help more people. Do things like that. But don't be afraid to go to your local newspaper. Every piece of content you do, send them an email. Have a template email and just say, hey, my name's Chad. I'm a local real estate professional. I've decided to lead from the front. I'm going to put my head down and run toward this obstacle. So every day, every Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be doing X, Y, Z content. You can consider it a series, consider it consistent. What does this do? It holds you accountable to get the damn work done, to make sure, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you're feeling sad, even when you're worried, to go take a shower, go shave, get in front of the camera and provide some value to the world. It will make you feel better. It holds you accountable too. So you then put that content out there, send an email to the local newspaper, local news channel, and over time they will start to expect that, and they will be like, my gosh, you will get featured. Every media outlet is looking for good news right now. If you notice at the end of the NBC News, like that's the one that always pops up on YouTube first, and I watch it every few nights. It's like on YouTube without commercials, it's like, I don't know, 20 minutes. But it's 15 minutes of absolute doom and gloom and just terrible freaking news. And then at the very end, there's like this 3-minute snippet of a feel good story and like some success story or something that brings light. And then they close it out. So they end on a high note. Media outlets are looking for good news, and you don't have to be on CNBC. What if you're on your local CBS, your local NBC, your local Fox? Get on these local channels, even if it's a radio station, even if it's a podcast. Share this out. Let people know. You might be the only person with enough courage to close the door and tell your kids to stay out for 3 hours until you produce the content, make a video, and deliver it. How many other people are doing that right now in your market? How much competition do you have? How much opportunity do you have if you step up and do this the right way? So things like that. And there's tons of things I'm probably not even thinking about. My goal here is to hopefully inspire you to go, oh my gosh, I've got ideas. I've got ideas. I talked to a guy yesterday, and we were on the phone for 30 minutes, and I'm like, there were 3 people. And the one guy hadn't said anything, and his partner was like, hey, do you have questions? And he's like, I have 3 pages of notes. I haven't been able to ask any questions. Can we reschedule for tomorrow? And that's what I hope to do for all you guys. I hope I can pour so much out that even if you just catch a snippet here and a snippet there, it will make a difference for you. So I'm doing my best at that. Recap for today. Get your plan in place. Get your house in order. Get ready for this. It doesn't have to be bad. It can be the best year you've ever had. I want you to start tomorrow. That whatever ideas you have, whatever commitments you can make on the buy side of your business, start tomorrow and don't let off the gas until you're done. And done, it means retired or dead, one or the other. But once you start, do not let off. Don't lose the momentum. You have no idea what you're capable of yet. And then if you need help, like if you feel very doubtful and you feel down and you just don't know what to do, you feel stuck, ask for help. We have a Facebook community where this is being watched. We have almost 9,000 people that specialize in helping families in probate. If you're watching this somewhere else and you're not part of that community, find All the Leads Mastermind. We have a culture of generosity, and people help people every day in that group, and I love it. So don't procrastinate, don't quit, don't lay down. If you feel lost, if you catch yourself procrastinating, call yourself out by saying, hey guys, I need help today. Like, I'm just not getting it done, and tell people how they can help you. And be helpful to others. It always comes back tenfold. It always has in my life. And provide value first is my mantra, and the number one core value that this company is built on. So don't ever be afraid. Drop the rope. Once you've scaled the wall, drop down a rope and help other people up. You will be paid back dearly. Okay, let me go through the chats here real quick. Make sure we have comment. See if we have questions there. Hey, Jim Forsyth, thank you for your compliments, sir. G. Taylor Johnson said, how do you find these large portfolios? So you need to get to know asset managers. If you can find somebody who's teaching REO courses, it's, those big portfolio deals, you're going to see a lot of garbage. If you go to LinkedIn, if it was anything like it was in 2010, 11, 12, you'll see a whole bunch of bullshit, to be honest. And unless you have a direct relationship with an asset manager at a financial institution that's selling the portfolio, don't mess with it. There's a lot of daisy chains and a lot of bullshit, and you'll chase a lot of rabbits and you won't catch any. So you have to go find a way to build a direct relationship with the asset managers at banks. And if anybody else has any pointers on how to do that for, I'm going to say Ms. Taylor Johnson, please chime in. Howard asked, can you explain how to get landlord portfolios? So step one is get to know every landlord in town and find a way to provide real value to them. Give them market reports, help them help them any way you can. The way I did it, I made 3 phone calls and I put 860 houses in a single portfolio with 3 phone calls, 2 owners, 1 property manager. And it literally in 3 hours, I had all of that put together and ready to roll. It took me, I started that in 2012, but even in 2013, I was selling portfolio because I provided value to my local real estate investors association. They knew that they knew I was a realtor, but they knew I wasn't typical. And when people found themselves in trouble, when they tried to scale too quickly and they got caught, then they would call me and I would liquidate their portfolios. I still have some of I think probably the largest portfolio sale in this market. I was about to blow that out of the water with an 860 plus, but that's not going forward right now. Tracy, let me get our. Let's see. Maybe a better slide to go back to would be to shift this one for our Q&A. I'm going to try to find Tracy here. Okay. Tracy, you had a comment about your home, your deal falling through. You are unmuted, or you're allowed to talk if you would like to join the conversation. Margie said, do you think it's a crazy idea to offer handmade masks to the shareholders in my co-op? She's in Manhattan, so it's a co-op, not a condo or an apartment. Can send with a note saying I'm home, not doing real estate. So taking that time to do this for neighbors. Margie, I think it's a great idea. Let me. Why can I never find you, Margie? I don't understand it. I know you're here because I can still see your name is blue in the comments, but you are not coming up in the attendees. So I'm really sorry about that. Oh, there you are at the top. I don't know why you're not alphabetized. Margie, you're there if you want to talk.
Okay, here I am.
Here we am. Hello, lady.
Hello, kiddo.
So I think you have a great idea. Are you a good seamstress?
Oh, yeah, I have a lot of sewing machines.
Nice. Well, I think that's a good use of your time, and I think it's a very nice gesture. You may include in your note that, these are more to just protect other people. It's the COVID-19 virus is as small as 1 micron. So even an N95 mask is only 3 microns. So it's not fully effective, but everything helps. The fact that policymakers were discouraging people from wearing masks 3 weeks ago still doesn't make a damn bit of sense to me.
Oh, that's crazy. That's only because they didn't want to pay attention to other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all. If you're connected to people from around the world, then you knew to wear a mask.
I have a friend who his wife makes baby clothes and sells them on Etsy, and they're making these like designer masks. Like they come around, it's got one high strap that kind of goes around the back of your head and one low one, so it's not putting pressure on your ears. And she made elastic straps, and it's like a full face mask. And she's made some really neat ones. She's using really nice fabrics and things, and they've kind of switched into that mode. So if you've got the skill set, I think it's a great idea. And a great touch for the people in your building. Well, they will definitely never forget that.
I'm very creative sewer and very adept at, I don't know why the picture keeps going in and out, but no, creatively, the mask will be a full mask.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good idea and a great gesture, Margie. Thanks for sharing it.
All right, thanks.
All you other seamstress out there. So Tracy, I'm guessing you don't have a microphone.
No, I do. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yes, I can hear you well.
Okay.
Tell us what you're going through.
Yeah, so my personal home was under contract, and the first-time home buyers, their loan was pulled that they were going to use. They actually both work at the title company. And the buyer's agent and myself did everything we could to try and get them to stay. You know, let's do the coronavirus extension and so on. And no, they didn't want to do that. So they sent over a letter, and we ended the whole thing. And now,
where were you moving?
We have a house that we bought with an investor that's actually on the same road that we're rehabbing right now. We're in the middle of rehabbing it, that we were going to move in.
Okay.
So we really need to sell our house. I put it back on the market, but I'm not sure if I should do that. Should I take it off and list it as a FSBO because it's been on for so long? Because we haven't had
how much equity do you have?
Quite a bit.
So you don't have much of a loan on it.
Oh yeah, we have a loan as well, but we rehab this house too.
So give me a percentage, LTV. Like what LTV is your loan at right now? Not where you originated it. What have you paid it down to? Is it like 60 or 70 or 80?
Oh, it's probably still 80.
Okay. So the risk, and that's the reason I'm asking, wasn't to put you on the spot in front of everybody. The risk you have is if some people's predict, and what market are you in, Tracy?
I'm in Cape Coral, Florida.
Yes, I'm not that familiar with that market. If you believe it's overheated, it was overheated coming into this. If you saw, lots of people, making multiple offers and emotionally driving prices up, then I would be concerned that potentially you could be in negative equity territory. So if you pull your home off the market, I would encourage you to have a contingency plan to transition it into a rental or a short-term rental or a traveling nurse rental. How close is it to a hospital?
It's pretty close. There is a hospital here in Cape Coral.
So you can leave it furnished, which gives you a great excuse to go buy all brand new furniture for your new place when it's on sale for 30 cents on the dollar. Leave the furnishings there, move out, furnish your new place, and rent it as a fully furnished rental and take prepaid rents. And if that happens, I'm saying if your equity gets stripped out because you don't find a replacement buyer. Things you can do to, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it was on the Shift Happens call the other day. And you heard me say earlier, like story selling is super powerful. I used to sell, beachfront and Kaanapali Beach in Maui. It made no sense on paper, right? It was not it wasn't a logical investment. It was an emotional investment. It was a lifestyle investment. And in residential real estate, a lot of people were very logical in their marketing, right? Including myself. But in times like this, you want things to get to catch on. And with such a dark sentiment in our society right now, what happens if you treat your house like an online, like it's a person on an online dating site, and like you're trying to pimp out your house? You're like, oh, wait till you meet my house. She is so great. She was born in 78 and she this and she that, and personify the house and walk through and like build out a dating profile for your house, and then send that to the local news station and see if they pick it up. Send it to every local news station. Send it to every morning talk radio host. Get people to start talking about it. Get so much exposure that people can't help but look at your house. And those are just aggressive ideas that I'm trying to, like, in the next 5 days, things that you can do to really draw some attention and find a replacement buyer. But I would also encourage you, not to realize that loss in equity. If it happens, the market will rebound. So have a contingency plan in place so you don't have to do a short sale or you don't, lose money. Have a contingency plan, and just, you and your husband say, listen, if this happens, then we do this. Like if the market falls by more than 20%, we do not recognize our loss. We transition this to a furnished rental, and we rent it on travelingnurse.com or whatever it is. And we hold our position until we have equity again. But, and I don't know what that answer is for you, but it's for you guys to decide. But my advice is get really aggressive right now while buyers still have, while bad news is still limited in the space, because I think the news is going to get worse.
Uh-huh. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, next up. Kim asked about the suggested topics for each day. I don't know if they were suggestions as much as they were examples, but I think we're on this slide. So Kim Barber, it was law, policy, and rule changes, settlement changes, like settlement updates, what's happening at the title company, what, deals are closing, good news. Lending, loans are originating, rates are down, things are moving. Talk about market analysis, sales volume, home values. These are just 5 examples. You could do anything. I mean, we shared a lot of ideas in this session. Carrie said, and it looks like she might be gone, is now the time to heavily market probate. Yes, probate is, we chose this niche. There's, I don't know, 17 or 28,000 different things you can do in real estate. And for me, having done a little bit of everything, I really gravitated toward probate because I had the least competition. I could provide the most real value in the community. And they were just the best damn people, the most grateful people I'd ever worked with. And they're amazing listings for landlords. Like, you can sell your listings faster than your wholesale deals, but you can also get some deep equity when people just want out. They just want to be done with it. And you can make $25,000, $30,000 a deal wholesaling these. And so this is the best time to double down on probate, because you have, the motivating factors aren't going to stop because of the economics that are coming through. These assets have to be cleared. So there's nothing but opportunity in the probate space. Yeah, good job. Manny says, I made a decision 2 weeks ago to build out a YouTube channel. Would you be willing to get on with me to do a call? Yes, Manny, email support, tell them to give you a 30-minute link on my calendar, and we'll do a YouTube video. Phyllis asked, have you called for rent by owners? It's a good suggestion, especially if it doesn't say will be vacant on. If it's a vacant property. I have not, but that is a great suggestion. Roger. Hey, Roger, you're allowed to talk if you want. I've never seen you not want to talk, by the way.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. How are you, sir?
I'm on the back end of a complete technological upgrade on everything that I've got. I'm glad finally we get to talk on the internet you can hear me, so.
Maybe next session you'll turn your video on.
Well, I'm still learning about, because now I've got a camera that I can trust. I'm waiting for a 1080 to come in. It ought to come in June or July, but I've got a 720 that on this thing. I just have to figure out how to make it work. Yeah. Thanks for the tip on REIs. I've been really reluctant to deal with those guys because they've been really reluctant to deal with me. But this phone call has really transformed my approach to those guys, and I think you're absolutely right.
I'm happy. I look forward to you sharing your results. That was the first thing I did in Roanoke, was I focused on my Real Estate Investors Association, and I've easily done 150 transaction sides off of just a few meetings. just because I found ways to provide value to them. And when they found themselves needing a real professional, they made one phone call. And I've sold, big portfolios, and I've sold 2 big portfolios in Roanoke. I have never gone into a single house. I didn't leave my office on either one of them. Cash offer, 30-day closing, no contingency, didn't meet the buyer, didn't meet the seller. I docu-signed everything. So I literally have sold over 100 houses sight unseen through DocuSign and video calls, just like you could do right now. No one actually shook hands through the entire thing. One of them was, you probably remember this, Roger. I was going to Nepal last April.
Yep.
And it was like April 28th, I think it was the day I left. So this would have been on the 27th. I was packing for a 1-month trip in the backcountry in Nepal, of course, the night before, just like I made this slide deck 2 minutes before we started. But I get a phone call, and a guy needed to blow out 12 properties, 24 doors. And I was like, give me a price. And I said, all right, I'm going to send 2 text messages, and this either will happen tonight or it won't happen at all. But I'll get it all. I'll send all the closing instructions and everything. I'll get the paperwork signed, and you're going to quarterback it from here. And hopefully the money's in my bank account when I get home. So I did it. It spent about 3 hours. I sent 2 text messages. One of the 2 engaged, one declined. We went to a contract in the next couple hours. Put the deal. I sent the closing instructions on a Sunday night. Sent them through, carbon copied another agent that said, listen, man, I'll bring in on this deal. Just make sure it gets through closing. Escrow's yours. And then I got on a plane and flew into Nepal, and I came back 5 weeks later, and I had a big fat commission check. And I did it sight unseen without meeting any buyers. It could have been a COVID-19 deal. So you guys can all do this kind of stuff.
I do have something to say about REOs, because in 2010 to 12, 2009 to 12, I was an REO for Bank of America. And one of the ways to get REOs, it's going to be a lot easier if you have a good relationship with the asset managers of your local community banks, because they get those things. You will be competing, I think, with some of the loan officers, because I think they get paid a spiff if they find a buyer for an apartment complex or a series of duplexes or something along those lines. But staying in touch with some of the local loan officers and what the inventory within their bank is, more than one if you can. And I think the local ones, you'd have a better opportunity, but make a trip to a local Bank of America and make friends with a loan officer there. And because I got recommended by handling one of her clients very well, and that's how she recommended me for a BOA, and I managed to sell probably about 40 of their houses during the last recession. So as far as REO is concerned, check with your local banks, get involved with those folks, bring them some donuts or blueberry muffins, and just stay in front of them and tell them what a great deal, and keep them, like you said, bring your market report, because they appreciate seeing it from a different perspective.
Yep. Thank you for sharing that. That's great advice. And the other thing, Roger, I expect is, I don't know, it was probably 2009 or 10 before they got fired up, but they started to have big REO conventions.
Yes.
Where they had all the asset managers would get together, and you could find note portfolios and, lots of things. So one of the things I think you're going to see come out of this is we're going to be showing up for less trade shows in person, and we're going to be spending less money on that. The travel industry, this is going to take a while to work its way through. I think for the next 12 months, virtual conventions are going to be huge, which gives us all a lot easier access to those, but we're all going to have to compete more to stand out and have a, more of a presence there. But keep your eye out. I'm betting what you'll see is REO conventions will happen in a virtual environment. So you can go to the big Bank of America convention and talk to the asset managers in a virtual environment. So it's a good thing you got your 1080 camera, Roger.
Something that I've noticed about the national banks is that they're going third-party vendors rather than dealing with a a project manager or a asset manager that is employed by the bank. They're now going off to third parties, and the third parties taking 1 to 2% of commission for as an administrative fee for doing that. And that's kind of hard to work with if you got about a 6% and you've got to pay another agent half of whatever your listing agreement is with the primary. They have a listing agreement with the brokerage, and they limit the amount of commission that you can make. And I think that what they learned out of that was, we don't like working with third parties, them taking 2%. So now they're going to places like foreclosure.com and Hubzu to start marketing their stuff. And I've never had a success. I've never really liked dealing with Hubzu. They're just difficult to get your arms worked around. And
Yeah, I have closed several. It's not the best platform. It's better than HUD.
Yeah,
I hate HUD deals.
Well, HUD just rakes you over the coals, and what I was wondering,
mail us the contract with blue ink, or we're canceling it. And I'm like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. What's your experience with reverse mortgages?
I mean, in probate, I encounter them. I didn't encounter them much here. Most of the probate homes I've done have been free and clear, but I have coached several people through the reverse mortgages. And Roger, I will say, one of the things I'm interested in is buying the notes on those HECM loans, or HECM reverse mortgage. So if anyone sees a note portfolio on HECMs or reverse mortgages, I'm probably your buyer.
Well, I'm interested in where those properties go after the occupant leaves the property.
A lot of times the family just, even when there's equity, that's what's so disappointing from a coaching standpoint. The family's like, the hell with it. It can't hurt our credit score, because there's only like 20 or 30 grand in equity and there's 3 or 4 heirs. So that's why I think it's an opportunity. The family just checks out and they're like, hell with it. And they'll let it go into foreclosure. The HECM lender forecloses, and then they have to dispose of the asset. So what the opportunity I'm most interested in, I probably shouldn't be saying this publicly, but what I want to purchase is portfolios of HECM notes. And then I can go approach the family and say, hey, let's work this out. Let's refinance you into a long-term note. Or I'm going to liquidate I'm going to, do the foreclosure, liquidate you out, and then I'll wholesale the deal, or I'll turn it into a turnkey rental, or whatever it is. But that's I would rather buy the notes than I would wait to try to, nitpick through the assets.
You're the second person that I know that has done that, and I'm interested in moving in that direction as well. But
let's quit talking about it online. What's wrong with us?
We're going to have snow Sunday.
Yeah, it snowed here today. It went from 65 to snowing. Yeah. How about those Bears? All right, Roger. Good to have you as always, sir.
God bless.
Thurman has a deal. Sounds like it's like a title for a really good investor's children's book. Thurman has a deal. The Thursday that Thurman got a short sale. All right, Thurman, I'll quit being an idiot. I think I found you. All right, you are able to talk on your side, Thurman. Tell us about your short sale. Oh gosh, while you're doing that, Alejandro has a PPP question. So, question regarding PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. Is there a possibility to get it without having a business account? If so, what banks or financial institutions will do it? B of A bailed out on helping anyways. Taking my money out of there as soon as this is done. Hell yes. Community banks, unite. By the way, tried 3 community banks. They also need a business account prior to February 15th. That is unfortunate. I have not gone to any community banks where I didn't have an account for this purpose. Alejandro, Thurman's not coming on, so I'm assuming he doesn't have a microphone. So let me see if you do. Alejandro, you're available to talk if you would like to.
Hey, what's up, Shad?
So you've been having a pretty tough time finding the right bank.
Yes.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, man. This is turning out to be the biggest blunder that you could have imagined. Nobody's getting any direction. So some good news came yesterday. There's a $2.3 trillion package coming from the government, but it's coming through Treasury. So they're setting up these little kind of mini banks, for the lack of explaining everything. So they're setting up these little temporary or short-term banking like systems. And it looks like this 2.3 trillion is going to come through a different distribution channel that's going to be more deliberately set up. The problem with SBA is they don't have the bandwidth. They didn't have the systems in place, and they tried to repurpose. It was like trying to turn a shopping cart into a race car. It's just not going to work that well, right? So they had this system that was set up for low bandwidth and low demand, and then all of a sudden we put 35.2 million individual businesses on the demand side, and they were set up to serve a couple million a year. And they just got overwhelmed. So then they said, all right, we'll push it off onto the banks. And the banks don't really have systems for this. And they were repurposing existing loan products. So the whole thing is a shit show, to be frank. And rather than beat your head against the wall and just keep begging banks, I'm going to say if your cash flow, if you can afford to, you should probably wait for the money that's coming. The broad strokes that they've shared with us so far is it's going to be at a prime rate, which is at the Fed lending rate, which is 0.01% interest on a 4-year note. So it's basically free money. I mean, it is debt on your balance sheet. Like, you need to make wise decisions with it. You don't want to use it as spending money. Like, you should demand a return because it is debt and should be treated as such. But I think probably by early May, you'll get that money. I guess I'm going on record, but my prediction is we will get that money before we get all this SBA money, just because of the mess that I see.
Wow. And they're just putting this one together.
Yes, but it's I think we've all learned a lot over the last 10, 12 days since this started. And this is coming through Treasury. It's not going to have all the restrictions that those existing repurposed loan products did. And again, I'm making some assumptions that the Federal Reserve has published very little. I haven't posted it in our group yet because there's just such limited information, but that's what we know so far. It's coming through Treasury. It's 2.3 trillion. A large chunk of that is going to backstop the turmoil in the mortgage-backed security and credit markets. And a large tranche of it is going to be used to add additional funding to the PPP, so it may stabilize. Either way, what I would say is just take a deep breath if you can, if you have breathing room. Don't be just running around like going from bank to bank to bank to bank. Maybe give it a week or two. My application's right here because everything is so crazy. I actually didn't take mine back yesterday when it was completed. I've decided to just I'm not the kind of guy that shows up on Black Friday to push my way into a store to get a deal on a TV either. Even if I needed it, I'm not that person. So my approach is kind of, while this shit show is going on, let the banks learn what they need to learn. Let me see proof that the money is actually going to trickle down and be funded. Then I'll take my application to the bank. Because I've just about had enough of this.
That was great advice. Yeah, that's true, because what you're saying makes total sense. It doesn't make sense for us to just keep on following up the news and trying to go to the banks where they don't really know how this thing is being managed at all.
And it's just making it harder for the bank. Like for me, it's like I'm not going to put pressure on a banking system that's already choking, and they're not getting leadership from the top. And that's what really pisses me off. Like I put a lot of stuff out there to you guys, and you trusted me and I trusted them. And I apologize. It's not really my part, but the leadership is embarrassing. And if they didn't they should have looked and said, this is what these distribution channels look like. Can we do this? And if there was any doubt, they should have just held off and structured something that would work instead of doing what they've done. Because now there's a bunch of false information and speculative, people sharing assumptions and guesses. And every business owner in the country is confused, and it's just a mess. So I would say sit back and have a beer. Maybe by the end of next week, that will clear, and we can actually get, when we see checks going into banks, then we can go apply for ours, right?
Perfect. Yep. Makes sense. Thank you, Shep.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Kim, this is support@alltheleads.com. All right, guys. Well, that is our comments. Let me see if there's, oh, yeah, there's Q&A. Manage my multiple windows here. All right, Alejandro, we just covered that one. You were first. So Foss Inc. asked, how do you balance Facebook and YouTube usage? Hopefully that means outbound, not inbound. So with what we do, and this is an exception, normally I'm using Zoom. And on these sessions, to get the most exposure for your content, the best thing you can do is go live, because that appeals to some people. They really like the live aspect. So go live using Zoom, and you choose Facebook or YouTube. And then you can always you're recording in the cloud, so you can use that. You can take the recording and repurpose it elsewhere. There are a bunch of platforms out there that that will let you simultaneously broadcast and syndicate on several platforms. So anyways, I'm not looking for balance. I'm looking for syndication. I want it to be, if I'm going to take the time to do my homework and do a piece of content, I want it to be in as many places as possible, as easily as possible. And Kat, I know you know some of the softwares. If you want to chime in, or if you just want to throw it in the show notes, we'll suggest some of the platforms other than Zoom. Zoom is pretty costly. I like it because it's really easy for people to get onto, but it's not necessarily the best tool unless you're doing live content. The one that we used yesterday was, in my mind, there was a duck in the logo. But anyways, I did a YouTube with somebody else yesterday, and he had a pretty something flow. But Foss Inc. Kat will drop in the notes some software that might be helpful to you. But I wouldn't look for balance. I would look for scale. That's a good question, Devin. Oh, I don't see you here now. So Devin, for some reason I can't see you to unmute you. Devin said, how do you handle potential clients that are skeptical of your willingness to help, regardless of whether you get paid? In other words, who do I need to become to have instant rapport and connecting with people? The answer to your question is just become valuable. Like become a guy that will help no matter what. And the best, I think the last slide that I showed you guys, I showed you that hashtag provide value first. And that's honest to God my answer, Devin. Like if someone says, well, why the hell would you do this? Like, are you stupid or what? And I'm like, you know what, man, I have people try to pay me, like friends and family members who I help through things, and they see so much value. They offer to pay me. And I'm like, you know what, you don't owe me a thing, because I know what I put out there comes back to me tenfold. It always has. It's like that simple principle brought me from poverty level West Virginia to where I am now. And I'm so grateful for it. So that's my best answer. It's just, I really will help anyone. I'm not getting paid directly to do this. I'm spending 25 hours a week of extra work just to be here for you guys. And I have to do homework. I have to build slide decks. I have to be here in the hot seat. there's no way for me to directly monetize this, but I know over the rest of my career, I will be rewarded for years for what I'm doing here today, from leading from the front. So don't be afraid of that question. Be damn proud of the answer. I saw, so yeah, Kim, that's the one that I used yesterday. Kim suggested to syndicate across multiple platforms. StreamYard is it does Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And yeah, Kim, in the comments, it's in the webinar chat, guys. Kim is going to drop a link to you. I don't know what the pricing is on StreamYard. I was on a YouTube video yesterday with Ty Taylor, and that's what he was using, and it seemed to be really slick. So that's one that might be better to put it in more places at once. Steve. Yeah, I saw that right before I got on, Steve. Let me see if I can find you here. Let's see if you want to be our podcast manager. Mr. Carney, you can talk if you would like.
Hey, good afternoon, Chad. How are you?
I'm well. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks again for another great session. But you already have the framework for this podcast. And, you know, I too am trying to knock around ideas as to what I want to do. But you've got this following. You're providing great value, content. You're the consummate servant leader. I appreciate what you're doing. This is a great educational piece for me as a new guy trying to start out or actually get in gear. But I know I sent a note to Kat. She's like, I tell him every week. Trying to help me.
Now you guys are ganging up on me, all right? Kat has started putting some of our mastermind calls and stuff out as podcasts, so there's a little bit out there. You know, the problem is I have more ideas than time, Steve, and I wish I could keep up with all of my ideas. I just haven't been able to. So I really appreciate your compliments and your comments, and I hear you, and I know that I need to do it.
So, Chad, imagine this. Imagine this. You have Ray Dalio on your program.
I know. I would, dude. You saw in that post, I just said yesterday, I would have paid him 15 grand to have dinner with me. And then he posted that right after dinner. And I'm like, wow, everything happens perfectly. Yeah, I would love to interview Ray Dalio in front of you guys.
It'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you so much. And for always being engaged with our stuff and for supporting us. I appreciate your compliments.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Well deserved.
Oh, all right. Well, guys, I don't know what I did there. It looks like we have both sides cleared. Kat, if you guys look in the chat panel, as far as back to the question about what, how to best balance content across multiple platforms, Kim has suggested StreamYard and dropped a link, I think. Basic is free, and she pays $20 a month for hers. Yeah, StreamYard probably makes a lot more sense than Zoom. This is not exactly a cheap platform. And Kat has shown you the popular free software Open Broadcaster, or OBS. If you want to skip the learning curve, StreamYard starts at $25 a month to have your own branding. That's really awesome too.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say OBS is.
Oh, look who's here. Well, hello, Kat.
Hello. I had quite a bit of a learning curve with OBS, and I kind of work in the platforms already. So if you want to skip the learning curve, you don't want to waste your time, I would highly recommend trying StreamYard over that. If you want some more advanced features where you can work in more than just basic overlays, OBS is what you should be using. If you can handle a smartphone and certain applications without needing detailed tutorials, you could probably learn OBS. If that stuff gives you a headache, go straight to StreamYard.
It's so easy, Chad can do it.
Yeah, that's a good measure.
Goodbye, Kat.
Bye.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap up session 8, episode 8 of Shift Happens. Thank you guys, as always, for being here. I'm happy to hear you're getting value from this, and it is making an impact. Thurman, I was unable to find you. If you need help with your short sale, call into support and one of us will coach you through it. We have a ton of experience with short sales, but I wasn't able to, didn't get your microphone and didn't understand the question. So I'm going to drop off, guys. We're signing off for today. We will be back here on Monday at noon Eastern for episode 9 of Shift Happens, whatever that might be. Have a great weekend, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy.